Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing out there? This is your Uncle Steve out here speaking in the Atlanta Bird Gang on a Tuesday, May 18th. And I just came in because I recently had seen some of the comments made from Matt Ryan, who we had not truly heard from in the past month or two. Uh, Concerning a lot of stuff. And obviously the hot button thing that people are talking about now is Julio Jones and the future that he will have on this team. I, there's nothing surprising about anything I heard him say, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. Um, Listen, it's been a while since we heard from him, so I'm not surprised he came out. I'm pretty sure the Falcons probably said, "Hey, uh, let's do a little bit of damage control because pretty soon, you're going to be looking at uh, what. Pretty soon, the question will be asked whether he'll be here or not."
Was kind
Hold on
of
1 second.
interesting.
Got it
Um,
changed. My volume. I
Listen,
apologize.
it's been a while since we heard from
I turned my
what
sorry. There we go. Y'all hear the echo on there. Sorry about that. But anyway, we hadn't heard a lot from Matt about things and how he felt. So I thought it was just kind of interesting that he came out today of all days. And I'm taking my quotes from NFL.com, but first thing Matt talks about was at least the shift of a lot of the quarterbacks. Probably, when you start talking about Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, when you start talking about winds of change. And where at one time, when you got a franchise quarterback, I don't know, that's a big buzz thing around here when people start talking about Falcon for life and you start talking about Aaron Rodgers, Packer for life, or Russell Wilson and everything like that. But things change and situations change. So I just find it interesting that this is a good time for him to come out. And I'm sure they can say it all they want to, quarterbacks and stuff. They hear this stuff. They hear the fans. I'm sure Matt Ryan sat back and watched a lot of folks who he probably thought had his back, looking forward to probably drafting a quarterback. And I don't blame him for feeling the way he does. If he feels like that's a betrayal or whatever, that's, it is what it is. But just looking at a couple of the quotes he came back, he said, quote, "Everybody's situation is different, but there's definitely been a shift," speaking about the outspoken nature of some of the quarterbacks going on. "Guys have become more vocal about certain situations. I understand that I'm not going to play forever, but I also have a mindset that I'm still playing really well and I have a lot of good football in front of me." Now, of course, I know the the question that most of you all will say is like, "You are playing well, Matt?" And look, for all of the stat geeks and fantasy football players, it does look like he's playing well. There's no denying the 9 years of 4,000-yard passing. There's no denying that Matt puts up. Usually, he's in the 60 to 65% completion rating. Those things are there, but what hasn't been there recently are the wins, and that's what we're judged on. We're judged on winning and losing. So I just think it's something that people need to start considering when we're talking about, does Matt get a fair shake? I think he does, but it's just hard because our losing is something that he can't erase. And said it before and I'll say it again. You're the franchise quarterback. It's fair. Whether it's fair or unfair, Matt's going to be judged by that. It was interesting. I saw yesterday it was Matt Ryan's birthday, and just to see some of the folks that just take pot shots and don't have anything else to do but just, you know, just say nasty things and stuff like that. It's really crazy. Because listen, I made no secret that I was one of those that thought maybe we need to step in and try to find one of our future quarterbacks with the talent at the top of the draft. But the one thing I do support is I support the Atlanta Falcons. And right now, our quarterback one is Matt Ryan. So let's hope that all this stuff develops and helps him out. I sometimes when I see, I wonder, do some of y'all need like a hug, man. I don't think I've ever heard the hate like it is. It's one thing to criticize the man. It's one thing to criticize him, and he's gonna get criticized. There's no hiding behind. I got news for you. Patrick Mahomes is gonna get criticized. Aaron Rodgers is gonna get criticized. All the big time quarterbacks are going to get criticized. Now, the difference in the people I just named, they're winning right now. And when you're losing, the scrutiny is more, the microscope is out. So we have to kind of detach ourselves from, look, what happened in the draft happened. We know where we're going forward. So 2021, you got to ride or die. Now, if you hate a man that bad, knock yourself out and go ahead. But I think I'm willing to give this new coach a chance to see what he can do. Terry Fontenot a chance. So let's see what ends up happening. Hey, what's going on? A couple of fellows coming in. Epic says, Matt Ryan, this is your make it or break it year. And that's it in a nutshell, Epic. Nobody's trying to get unrealistic expectations from him. We just want you to win, brother. I just want you to win. Look, you start winning, the criticism will go away. It really will. So I don't bear any ill feelings toward Matt. And I think a lot of the people that you guys see now, y'all know some of these folks online need puppies and need hugs. Y'all know that. But I'm going to ride with Matt because Matt, if he hasn't done one thing, Matt has done it professionally. Matt has absolutely stepped up to the plate when it talks about restructuring contracts, when it talks about being a leader, and you got to give him his due. Does that change my feelings about the future? Of course not. There is going to be a time we have to think past Matt Ryan. Listen, if the Patriots could think past Tom Brady, don't think it's not coming here. So I don't want those folks who are so blinded in their Matt Ryan defense to think that time isn't coming. So it's kind of a little bit of both. I just don't want it to turn into, well, I hate Matt so bad that I don't want him part of the organization. Of course I want him part of the organization. He's done a lot. Knefrey, I hope I'm saying that right. Matt is playing well. What options did he have last year? Julio was hurt most of the season, leaving Ridley the only real target. Hurst and Gage are checkdowns. Watch this year when Pitts, Julio, and Ridley hit the field and see what you say then. Well, first of all, I'm not saying anything. Look, when I look at Russell Wilson and what he had to deal with pre-DK Metcalf, he didn't have a plethora of wide receivers. He didn't have an all-star tight end. They tried to bring Jimmy Graham. They tried to bring Greg Olsen. Nobody really fit in that system. Let's not pretend like your quarterback can make people. Do you all think that every wide receiver that came out of Green Bay was a star? Jordy Nelson was nice, but Aaron Rodgers made him. Devontae Adams is different. I think he's a special player. What's his name? Valdez Scantling. That some people will every now and then try to act like he's the greatest second receiver in the world till he dropped something. But Aaron Rodgers made him. Aaron Rodgers makes a lot of folks. If you have a great quarterback, they will make folks. Matt Ryan has made receivers. Think about it. He made Taylor Gabriel a decent option, and he went and got paid in Chicago. Mohamed Sanu came here and revitalized. Listen, he was a Robin to AJ Green in Cincinnati, but he raised his profile when he came here to Atlanta. So Matt Ryan is look. The Matt Ryan talk. People have to understand the frustration is not solely at Matt; it's at winning. Winning cures everything. The quarterback is the bullseye. There is nobody nobody in the national media, local media, or most of our podcasts putting a bullseye on Grady Jarrett. You know who they putting it on? They're putting it on the highest paid players. They're putting it on Julio. They're putting it on Matt. That's the nature of the beast, and you sign up for that when you get that contract. So it just comes with the territory. So, I mean, look, you can, we can't make excuses if Julio's not there. Do you all remember in 2016? Julio wasn't there a lot of the end of 2016, and a lot of guys still ate. Gabriel ate. Aldrick Robinson ate. Mohamed Sanu ate. Shoot, Patrick DeMarco ate. So a quarterback can make a team great. That's all I'm saying. And I still think Matt has the potential to still lead this team to a winning season. But I'm one of those folks right now, after 3 losing seasons, you have to ask, can it happen now? We need it to happen now. No more 0-6 starts. Let's do it now. Chadwick, how you doing, sir? I'm waiting until the season starts, and then I'm evaluating the office and coaching staff. Well, you know, and the evaluation is going to happen not only at the beginning of the season. You have to almost wait to the end of the season to see how it works out. Look, we could be sitting here talking about a 11-6, 12-5 team, or we could have a repeat of last year. Yeah, you're right. The evaluation is going to happen after the season. That's it. Our brother Jonathan, how you doing, sir? When our Hall of Fame quarterback isn't here anymore, there'll be a whole new appreciation of him. Watch what you wish for, and like most things, we have taken for granted what we have. And that's a fair point. There is no taking away Matt Ryan's first 6 to 8 years here. For folks who have been around, like I know Jonathan has been here through the rough years, through Marion Campbell, through Jim Mora, through let's try to think. Jared Glanville only had 1 winning season. Let's try not pretend like he was all that. Julio Jones, and all those guys had little spots because they did not have a consistent quarterback. Matt Ryan gave us a new identity. He gave us a new profile. Listen, from 08 to really 2016, sans 2 or 3 years in between there, the Atlanta Falcons were pretty high profile when you start talking about NFC teams. Always in the mix, the biggest mix. Listen, and I would rather this be about my quarterback. I'd rather be hearing about my quarterback not being able to win in the playoffs, which means they're making the playoffs, as opposed to my quarterback having 4 straight losing seasons. So, yeah, the narrative on Matt Ryan, I get it, folks. But at some point, look, everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm not going to ever try to change anybody's mind on what they feel about Matt. That's fine. That's your prerogative. And if you want to wallow in that negativity all day, that's fine. I'm looking forward to preseason, seeing what these guys are doing. The rookie camp, it's nice to see the guys actually in a uniform. But as I've said before, the shorts and t-shirt, the shorts and jerseys, that's fine for photo ops and things like that. I'm ready to see it get on the field. John Boyd said, hopefully we can have a great season. That's my hope. I hope we do. I hope we do. Chadwick said we need a Brady to Bledsoe. And I'm sure you meant the other way around. The other way around. I know what you mean, but I do know what you mean. Like somebody to fill the gap, and that was what I was talking about for this year, Chadwick. Just to have that person who can back him up, coming behind him. That's why I was looking forward to a quarterback, and it really didn't even have to be Justin Fields. It just happens that Justin was available at that time. I would have been satisfied with Trey Lance. Shoot, at this point, I almost would have been satisfied with Matt Jones. But you must at some point start looking for the future. And I'm sure with this organization, they're not dumb. They realize it. And especially if Matt ends up with a less than five, well, you can't have 500 records anymore, but a less than average season, you're going to have to make that decision because you can't tell me AJ McCarron is your future. Epic says exactly, Stephen. Look what other quarterbacks with no weapons and still got to the playoffs. Yeah, it's true. Billy, what's going on, Billy Ray? How you doing? Say it's like this, Unc. I'm all for getting a new quarterback, but just imagine not having a quarterback and having to go through the struggles other teams have faced. Granted, 3 losing seasons are what we're facing, but he's made the Falcons relevant. Matt's time is definitely up, but with him, we know he's a proven winner, and the Falcons can win with him. I have no doubt that we have the potential to win with him. I think what it is, Billy Ray, you weren't going to get a bigger defender of Matt than me pre-2018. You really weren't. But I think what happens is when you see your team sliding and you see your stars aging, whether they are throwing up astronomical numbers or not, you're only judged by wins and losses. I know it's a different sport, but I start thinking about the NBA. When Michael Jordan first hit the league, Michael Jordan was outscoring everybody. It was flashy and doing it all and whatever. But what was Mike's knock? That Mike couldn't win the big one. Mike couldn't win. He couldn't get past the Pistons. Once he got past the Pistons and start winning consistently, then his brand grew, his popularity grew. You start talking about the guy at the Dodgers last year, Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw, arguably the best pitcher the last 10 years in the major leagues. But before last year, all the talk was he's good, but they're not getting the job done. And it's unfair because on a baseball team, it takes 1 of 9. But he was the leader. He's the person getting the most money. He's the person with the most press. And that's what Matt is to us. It's unfair. It is. But that's the nature of the beast. And I'm sure Matt doesn't turn down those paychecks when he gets them. He realizes that he's not dumb. He realizes his accountability level is higher than Russell Gage or Calvin Ridley or Grady Jarrett. He knows that. And I like the fact that he stands up and says, hey, I got some years left, y'all. Don't count me out yet. Don't exactly, throw me to the wolves. But, that's what it is. Rusty says, if Julio gets traded, does the KP pick make less sense to you? If they are truly trying to win now, we need to keep Julio at least for 1 season. Well, it depends on how you want to run things. I mean, I'm not trying to say your offense is going to run solely through Kyle Pitts if Julio were to leave, but let's not forget the second team all-pro wide receiver we got out there. Folks, Calvin Ridley is no slouch. And the one thing I did like about the evolution of Russell Gage is, yeah, he dropped a few, but he caught 70 passes this year. Look, there are number 2 receivers that do a lot worse than that. Let's let this wide receiver bunch, let's give them a little bit of credit, because a lot of times they held it down without Julio this past season. Most of the time. Do I want Julio on the team? Absolutely. And I found it interesting that Matt addressed this in one of his other quotes. He was talking about Julio, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to scroll this up, but when he was talking about he's not going to respond to some of the talk and trade talk about Julio, and but he was giving him all the credit in the world. Say he's definitely been the most productive player he's ever had. That's what you're supposed to say as a leader. That's what you're supposed to say. And I'm pretty sure he's telling the truth. I don't think that's just coach speak or player speak. I think Julio has been a great asset to him. That was says 13 receivers. Thompson said, don't forget, our defense is always terrible. This is true. Brian C. Smith, we needed one field goal. You can't take that sack knowing the situation. He takes those type of sacks after all these years. That's all I have against him. Just be clutch. Absolutely fair point. Super fair point. There is nothing I can argue with that, Brian. And does it happen to the best as well? Absolutely. Tom Brady, for 7 Super Bowls, had an opportunity to win 10. He could have beat Philadelphia and should have beat the Giants 2 other times. And while the 7 championships, of course, overshadow the blunders, I guess my point is, look, every quarterback makes a mistake. And I think the fact that Matt has only had that one shot is fair game to give criticism. But Matt's only had one shot. If y'all think for 1 minute Matt isn't hungry, we're foolish. You don't think Matt is sitting at home saying, I hear what folks are saying. I hear y'all talking. I want to win for this organization. Because, look, he would be within every right to try to leave. But he wants to try to finish what he started. For all of the things we start talking about, what happened in the Super Bowl and what happened in other playoff situations, if y'all don't think that man takes that home with him, come on, man. Come on, y'all. He takes that with him every day, every hour, every time somebody in the press comes in. It's almost like when he comes to those even Zooms now, he has to be ready for the 28-3 question. He has to be ready for the why didn't you do this question. It's fair game to ask, but at some point, come on, man. Y'all gotta keep it real. Rusty said, I agree with the sack comment. Matt has taken some crucial sacks throughout his career late in games. Absolutely. I don't know why all of a sudden it got dark outside. Hold on 1 second. All right, there we go. I don't know what happened. It got dark all of a sudden. It looked like it was going to be a sunny day, but Brian says he takes $23 million home with him too. Yeah, look, again, fair game when you're getting paid that much money. But right now, every quarterback coming down the pipe is going to get paid. Josh Allen is going to get paid. And we can say all we want. Dak Prescott got paid. Zero. Doesn't have. If you match him up if you match Dak Prescott in his first 5 years against Matt Ryan, it doesn't compare. And Matt didn't have Ezekiel Elliott and a great offensive line in front of him when he first came into the league. But that being said, I understand. What's going on, Walter? How you doing, sir? Good to see you in there. We're talking about Matt Ryan, who finally came out and spoke a little bit about things going on. When asked about this NFL.com, when asked about what he would have reacted, how he would have reacted if the team drafted a quarterback, Ryan said, "I don't know what I would have done. With the new staff, you never know when there is a transition, what's going to happen. I was told to be a vet early in my career. You don't own your locker, you rent it." That's the one thing we get from Matt, man. That's professionalism. That's the one thing. I've never doubted that. I've never doubted it, never ever doubted that we have a professional quarterback on our team. Matt is one of the best when you start thinking about the troubles and the whispers and the things that happen to some of these other quarterbacks. Matt stays out of that mess, man. I don't know who his team is or who has his back, his I got your back team. But boy, whoever it is, they take care of Matt. That's for sure. Matt has, he is one of those guys that if you want to show how to be a professional, you start looking at his career and looking at the things he's done to just avoid all the drama. And that's not a knock on people going through personal things right now and controversial things. I understand that each situation is different, but Matt has stayed out of that. And I'd rather have a quarterback that I know that's going to be around as opposed to where you're trying to think, oh, Lord, should we pick up another quarterback just in case this guy's not able to play for whatever reason? Think about what the fans are thinking about in Green Bay. Think about what the fans are thinking about in Houston. They have no idea. At least we know one thing. Even if we would have drafted a quarterback, we knew we still had Matt that was going to be here. And to Jonathan's point, as he was pointing out earlier, dude, if Matt Ryan gets hurt, I know there are some sarcastic folks that will sit there and cheer and things of that nature. But if Matt gets hurt, we're going to see. Because A.J. McCarron loved you at Alabama. Felipe Franks had a cup of coffee in Arkansas, but I'm not sure we're ready to see any of those guys take any snaps. Matt also talked a little bit about Julio. Matt said he didn't want to get into the team or Julio's business. He said, Jones is a great player, hell of a teammate. I love him. We'll see how things shake out, but he's probably impacted my career more significantly than any other player. I mean, what do we expect him to say? And it's true. If Julio were to move, you're never going to hear, you're never going to hear him dog out Matt Ryan. Matter of fact, when Julio gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, you know who's going to be on that front row? I don't care if he wins 2 championships or 3 championships and leads here. You know who's going to be on that front row during the Hall of Fame speech? Number 2. Because as great as his abilities are, he isn't the receiver he is unless the quarterback gets the ball to you. Ask Roddy White, would he be in the Falcons Hall of Fame if Matt Ryan didn't come along? Remember, Roddy was drafted during the Vic era. Roddy was supposed to be the savior for receivers for us. And that just didn't happen. So I didn't do this to be a defend Matt Ryan thing. Listen, I'm still gonna I'm gonna hold Matt's feet to the fire. As a fan, I still want him to perform. As a fan, I want him to do his best. That's the only reason I get upset. That's the only reason I have difference of opinion. I want you to win. Matt wins, you're gonna hear less. I'm still, there are a lot of people that don't forgive Matt for the Super Bowl, which is ridiculous, but whatever. I've never held Matt responsible for the Super Bowl. Never. All these fake theories. Oh, Matt could have let the ball go earlier. Matt shouldn't have been running this play. Matt shouldn't have run that play. He should have audibled from what Kyle Shanahan said. Kyle Shanahan ran that show all season long up until the fourth quarter. Why all of a sudden would you switch up and say, you know what, on the biggest stage, I'm going to change my game plan and do it on my own? I love some of y'all bravado and stuff, and that's great. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There was not a person that thought, there was not a soul in America, except for the New England Patriots team, that thought they were going to come back in a fourth quarter down 28-3. Nobody. Say what y'all want to say. Stop lying. That was a once-in-a-lifetime moment in a championship game. And it unfortunately happened to us. Rusty said, do you think Matt would low-key be ticked off if they trade Julio? Of course he would. Of course he would. Julio has been there all but 3 years that Matt was there. Has been your number one guy. I'm not saying they hang out and have beers together, but for a long time, man, when you can throw the ball up and you have the most athletic, physical, fast receiver going up there to get it, of course you're going to miss that. And after 10 years, when we start talking about practice and reps and things like that, that's why who cares if Julio didn't come to training camp? Who cares if he didn't come to practice but 2 days a week? Because they have a 10-year rapport between each other. Sometimes you just need a look. Sometimes you just need just a sign. That's what Matt and Julio have. And that's a great thing. So, yeah, he might be ticked off. And don't think for 1 minute, I don't think the Falcons are sitting here saying, okay, we're waiting for the exact moment to trade Julio Jones. But barring anything weird, if any of you got a chance to see or hear, well, it was actually a visual too, a Zoom call with Terry Fontenot, he made it clear that we have to do something to be able to sign the rookies. He didn't play with it. He said there are going to be some uncomfortable situations, but the bottom line is they do not have the money right now. So without naming names, because of course they said Julio Jones, but while he didn't name names, something's going to happen. Somebody's money is getting ready to get twisted, or somebody's getting ready to leave. One of the two. And I think Julio is probably going to be the top candidate. Billy Ray says Matt was peanut butter to Julio's jelly. Roddy White sucked during Mike Vick's era, honestly. But keep it real, Billy Ray, and I want you to answer this. Was Mike Vick the best quarterback for Roddy? And I don't want to make this a Mike Vick discussion. Mike Vick was not the same quarterback he was when he went after prison and he went to Philadelphia with Andy Reid and learned how to be a quarterback. Jim Mora, if you did anything, Jim Mora he gave Mike Vick too many liberties. Mike Vick never learned how to be a quarterback that can throw the ball with touch when he was with the Falcons. Mike Vick was go to the spot, stand there, and I'm going to throw it as hard as they can. They used to talk about it. The receivers said nobody could catch his passes except Algie Crumpler because he would throw it so hard and so fast. He didn't know about touch. He didn't know about letting your receiver run the route and throw the ball to the spot. Mike Vick was about hit the person on the numbers. And sometimes in some situations, yes, but in most situations, you do the play the way it's designed to run. If he goes up and goes out for a 10-yard out, the ball should already be there. And that's one thing you got to give Matt credit for. Matt did a lot of that early on. Still does now. That's why Calvin Ridley is eating, because Calvin Ridley runs routes correctly. You got to be able to run routes. And I think Roddy White unfairly was stunned a couple of years because he did not truly have that kind of quarterback. Notice, soon as Matt Ryan came into the picture, Roddy White all of a sudden became a Pro Bowl wide receiver. I don't think that was a coincidence. I think that was the abilities of Matt Ryan to be able to hit his wide receivers and not only hit them in stride, but be able to throw balls to the spot so the receiver didn't have to guess where it was going to be. Billy Ray says Vic only favored Crump, the tight end. Roddy didn't develop to. Yeah, I think I'm going to disagree with you there again. I think you were talking about an immature, and he'll tell you immature, Mike Vick. Mike Vick was three things. Mike Vick was, as I told you, the throw it as hard and fast as you can guy to the spot. Mike Vick was the I want to take a long shot guy. And Mike Vick was one progression and run during the majority of his Falcon career. I don't even recognize the guy who went to Philadelphia. The guy that went to Philadelphia was a totally different quarterback because of better coaching. And also he had gone through life lessons and probably sat back and got a chance to, hey, he had a lot of time on his hands for 2 years. He had a lot of time to learn, a lot of time to think. Mentorship from Tony Dungy to tell him, say, go in there and learn your craft. Talent will get you a lot of places, but learn your craft. Don't disrespect your craft. If the one thing you can say about Matt Ryan respects his craft. He may not be able to do a lot of the things he was doing in 2012 and 2016, but you got to respect the craft. You must, if you plan on being a successful quarterback. All the commentary, all of the, if you want to call it negativity, I call it critique. I call it honest critique. My honest critique is I've seen moments. I'm not saying Matt can't throw anymore. I'm not saying Matt can't win with the right system. But I am saying I'm starting to worry very deeply because some quarterbacks can elevate their team. Russell Wilson is just my guy as far as that quarterback who elevates his team. When I say my guy, he's not my quarterback. I'm saying, but he's that guy whenever I start thinking about what's around him. Now, when the Legion of Boom was there, let's keep it 100. It's not like Russell needed to be Patrick Mahomes. It's not like he needed to be Aaron Rodgers. He had a defense that was backing him up. You look at what Russell's done since the breakup of Chancellor, Thomas, Sherman, and those guys, Michael Bennett, Averill. Ever since those guys broke up, Russell still elevates his team to the playoffs. And let's not talk about DK Metcalf like he's been there for years. He just got there. But when you start thinking about what he's done with garbage running backs, trash wide receivers, so tight ends, and a defense that, quite frankly, was pretty porous compared to the standard that the LOB left. But Russell still pushed his team forward. Am I saying Matt can't? No. But I am at a point after 3 years where I'm asking and I'm pleading that he step whatever that gene was that you had in 2016. I'm not talking about physical ability. I'm just talking about up here. Whatever it was that you had in 2016, you can't tell me it was all Kyle Shanahan. It was a lot of them. But Matt was a different guy. Look at Matt on that field. Every time I go back and look at the replays of that year in 2016, Matt was on a different wavelength. And you think about the games we lost, we really didn't get. I mean, we had a chance to have a super special season in regular season. That's why it wasn't a shock that we ran the table in the playoffs. Well, we lost in overtime to the Chargers. We lost to Tampa Bay in a close game with Jameis at the beginning of the year. The horrendous pick 2 with Kansas City. The Philadelphia loss where they had to come back after Gabriel caught the bomb. I mean, you think about those games. Matt was super uber competitive that whole year. That's why he got the MVP. I need that year back so bad. And I know I'm not going to get it physically, but I need that extra. He was extra that year. And took up, and when we start talking about, and I keep hearing this narrative about, yeah, but you got to have a defense. Listen, you're right. We do need a defense, but our defense wasn't that great. Vic got 16 sacks and whatever, but it wasn't like our defense was balling. Matt put so much pressure by scoring on the other side of the field, the other team had to keep pressing. And they had to take chances. And our defense was opportunistic. I give them that. We were very opportunistic. And that year, we didn't even have Desmond Trufant for half the year. But a great offense can sometimes help your defense. Rusty, you might have seen this before because you go to more games than I do. But when I went to the Panthers game last season, we got to our seats 90 minutes before kickoff. Matt was the only one on the field from either team in full pads, stretching and practicing. Got to respect his work ethic. That's what I'm talking about. And that's one of the reasons why I was so for bringing another quarterback in here. Because, yes, every personality is different, but to learn from him. And listen, Felipe Franks, I'm not sitting here trying to predict that he's going to be the next Falcon quarterback, but I will say this. If he's there and if he makes the roster and he gets a chance to sit in on Matt Ryan, I think he's going to get a lot from him. It would be an awesome story if we were able to develop him. But think about the knowledge. Think about the things he could learn out of an undrafted free agent. Epic says, Matt Ryan will eat and go to the NFC Championship this year. I'm calling it right now. Is equivalent to music in 2016. Kyle Shanahan wrote the songs, Matt Ryan sings them, and that's what made the song go platinum. It's no denying that. Great verses, great lyrics, a good hook, and it got you to number 2. Couldn't quite get the number 1 position, but you got you to number 2, and nobody remembers number 2. Unless you epically fail, no pun intended, epic. But nobody remembers number 2. Jonathan, my question is this. All these people that want to see Matt go, with who are we going to replace him with? All these teams that have been looking for a franchise quarterback, and we have been lucky to have that guy. And Chauncey, listen, I don't think it's a matter of we just want him to go just to go. I think we are in such a microwave era, and that's in life. I think everybody wants stuff quick. Now, gotta have it. Wait and see the pressure that Trevor Lawrence is going to have in Jacksonville. People think, yeah, they're going to give him 1 year. You're going to have people, if Trevor doesn't come out and have a winning season by next year, you're going to have some folks calling him a bust. And unfortunately, that's just how it is in today's society. We want it now, we want it quick, we want it right away. And it screws it up for teams like us when Patrick Mahomes comes right in the league and jumps right to the Super Bowl back-to-back MVP. It messes us up that Lamar Jackson comes in, jumps in, wins every year he's there, and still got to get some postseason success, but at least has his team in the hunt. It's almost the same way that Matt did at the very beginning. First 4 out of 5 years, he was there. Playoffs and at least a winning season, 5 straight winning season. So it's unfair that it's okay to want it quick, but it's difficult because in my day when I kept hearing the narrative about you can't sit a quarterback for 2 years. Says who? Pre-2000s, that's how you brought quarterbacks up. You were criticized more for throwing a rookie out there as opposed to sitting him down behind a veteran. When Peyton Manning, and I'll never forget it, when they drafted Peyton Manning #1 out of Tennessee, the coaching staff got crucified because they said they're throwing him out there too early. They're putting him out there and he's going to fail. And he threw like close to 20-something, 30 interceptions and looked bad. Fast forward to 2021, every single post I see, you can't let the quarterback sit on the bench. You can't let him sit for 2 years. You can't says who? What unwritten rule says that you have to throw him out there the first year? And of course, we all know the Patrick Mahomes, the Aaron Rodgers. We know that all of them didn't start right away. But again, it's we got to have it now. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticizing the want to win now, but I'm just saying sometimes you have to take a step back and build. That's all I was wanting this year, for us to build. Now, the draft is done and we've made our players. So listen, I'm dug in now. Matt Ryan is my quarterback. I'm going to go 100% behind my quarterback. Does that mean I'm not going to criticize him? No. Does that mean I'm not going to hold him accountable? No. But he's all we got. And he's our best chance to win. Chauncey said you're exactly right on microwave society. That's with everything. That's not even just sports. People come into a job, and it happens on my job all the time. People come in and they hadn't been there a good 8 months. Being transparent, as most of you probably know, U.S. postal worker. When you used to come into the postal service, you'd have to wait 2-3 years before you made full time. Now these young cats coming off the street, they making full time in 2 months and trying to supervise in 6 months. And I'm not saying things are changing, because I have kids and I want them to progress and I want them to do what they want to do. But when you start talking about this, there has to be some kind of a way to climb the ladder. But today, with everything is instant. Everything is this, and then with COVID, you think about the Zoom generation and the things like that. Everything has just popped off. I'm not going to criticize it because shoot, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe in technology. But at the same time, I think there are some things, and especially in my sports, offensive lineman. Everybody thinks because you draft the offensive lineman, he's supposed to start right away and be dominant right away. Doesn't work like that. Never worked like that. You get a dime a dozen that come out and really ball. I gotta get rolling in a few minutes. I apologize. I kept y'all. Trying to say, what's your thought on the cap and how we get under the cap? What's the most likely scenario to happen, Chauncey? I just really have a dark feeling, and I'm not wishing for this, but I just have a deep feeling that I think we're about to say bye-bye to Julio because a trade with him, they say, after June 1st will save us $15 million, which will be more than enough to sign the draft class. I mean, unless you're going to, you just took the 5th-year option on Ridley, unless you plan, and if you're the Falcons, you want to be smart with that. You extended him, you took the 5th-year option, so you want to sign him next year. So you don't want to start early with him. You got a set number for him now because this is not the option year. The option year is next year. So you want to play under that small cap money now. Next summer, you want to negotiate with Ridley. Then you can have a low number for him and spread that money down. Right now, you're probably not going to have a lot of choices, man. Billy Ray says, I'm a huge Gator fan. Felipe was average, but okay in Florida once he was injured and went to Arkansas. His number improved. He's also fit the bill. And with today's NFL quarterback, mobile athletic, to learn from Matt about mechanics might be a blessing. He's a big boy, too. I didn't realize how big he was, Billy. Epic, I just want Matt to play great ball this year and prove he deserves this money he's getting. No different than any other NFL quarterback, man. Everybody has to earn their keep. Epic, Aaron Rodgers sat 4 years and look at him pre-Hall of Famer. Shoot, Hall of Famer now. Trip over and break his leg. He's a Hall of Famer. Epic say, yep, I used to work at the post office for 4 years. I was a casual for 4 years. So you know the deal. You know the drill. And now, Epic, I'm telling you, you see cats walk in there now. They're what they call it. They call them PSCs now. And mail, whether you're a mail handler or a clerk, they call them that. And them cats be making full time like before the year is out. So that's deep. Johnson says, I agree. I can't see any other way. Even if Grady restructures, it still wouldn't be enough. Only other option is to trade Grady, but that would be a bad move. Grady's not getting traded. They just started a podcast with Grady. They've been sprinkling Grady on everything. Grady's going. I'm gonna tell you who's not going anywhere right now. Grady's not going anywhere. Ridley's not going anywhere. And see, I noticed they haven't been very. People have been saying nothing about Deion Jones. Let me tell you something. I love Debo, and I want Debo to stay in place. Y'all think about it. Debo has a nice little cap number next year too. And when you see the things that Alua Khan can do, Alua Khan can play that middle and let Debo's fast behind play that outside. And I think if you put Alua Khan in the middle, if he does some of the things he was doing the end of 2019 and into 2020, it could be an option. I'm not saying anything. I'm not spreading anything. I'm just saying, don't think that that's something they haven't think about. You know, it's funny. You just Johnson just said, does Debo fit this new system? Is another question. As so interesting. You're right. It's a fair question in Dean Pease's. One thing I do like with Deion blitzes well. And maybe if Dean Pease does run some semblance of a flex 3-4, that could be awesome to have Fowler on the other side playing linebacker and have Debo on the other side not knowing where the pressure is, or shoot, bring them both. Rusty said Debo needs to learn how to tackle or he can walk. For all I care. You don't want to get rid of him that quick. I think Debo is a leader on the team, and they might have overpaid him a little early, but I think I like Debo. I like his motor and everything like that. Look, speaking of work, y'all, I got to get out of here. I just wanted to give a little mid-afternoon break on a Tuesday. Usually don't pop in, but I saw the quotes from Matt Ryan and I just wanted to throw some stuff out there. Everybody have a great day, and we will definitely catch you on Sunday. But if any news breaks out, of course, with any trade rumors or things of that nature, obviously we'll come in, man. Thank y'all for joining me today. Y'all see I'm not in my regular studio, so that lets you know how spontaneous this was. Y'all take care of yourselves, man, and we'll see y'all. Peace.